Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 9:30 a.m. session of the 2016 OpenSimulator Community Conference. As a reminder to our in-world and web audience, you can find the full conference schedule at conference.opensimulator.org and tweet your questions or comments to @OpenSimCC with the hashtag #OSCC16. This hour, we're happy to introduce a session called OpenSimulator eCommerce Panel. Our speakers today are Christopher Colosi, Maria Korolev, and Ilan Tochner. Maria Korolev is editor and publisher of Hypergrid Business and of the Hyperica Directory of Hypergrid Destinations. She has been a war correspondent, ran a news bureau in Shanghai, and she covered businesses and technology for national magazines for over 15 years. But the emerging metaverse is the most exciting thing she's ever covered. Christopher Colosi is the founder and CEO of Commerce in Opensim, and that offers the Globit Money module plugin for grid owners. Many avatars can be tied to a single account with a single Globit currency balance. Even Hypergrid visitors can link to their Globit account with a single click and spend on your grid. Ilan Tochner is co-founder and CEO of Kitely, the biggest commercial provider of OpenSim regions, and the creator of Kitely Market, the leading marketplace serving the Hypergrid metaverse. Ilan formerly held positions in several startups, including CEO at ID Choice and Director of Infrastructure Development at OmniSky. Ilan has an MBA from Tel Aviv University and a BSc in Computer Science from Hebrew University in Jerusalem. Welcome all. Let's begin the session. Maria, would you like to lead off?
Well, thank you, Mike. It's great to be here. I think it's a very exciting time for OpenSim right now and for the commercial possibilities in OpenSim. So I'm very excited about it. I'm also excited to have our two presenters here today, Christopher and Ilan, because of the amazing things that they have been doing this year. So Ilan will talk more about what's been happening with Kitely, and Chris will talk more about what's been happening with Globit. But overall, one of the big things that everybody wants in OpenSim is to have more content, more creators, more stuff to buy and to get. And having a marketplace and having a currency is critical to this. And with OpenSim being the way it is, that everybody can start up a grid, the community is scattered across many, many different grids, and every grid has its own currency and its own merchants, and it can be really hard to find things and for any grid to have any kind of critical mass of both commerce and content to really make its residents, feel that they're provided for. And so what the hypergrid does is allow both money and content to travel between grids, creating kind of one giant market for the entire metaverse. So I think this is really exciting, and there have been several attempts to do this. There's kind of a nonprofit OMC currency that's backed by the exchange Verwax and the University of Graz in Austria. That hasn't been getting as much pickup as I was hoping that they were going to have, and they haven't been doing a lot of marketing of their currency, and they've had some technical issues, and that hasn't really taken off the way I had been hoping for a few years ago. And then there's been a few individual cases of people trying to start up currencies. One of them is the G-Dollar currency from the folks who do the CloudServe website hosting company and Frank Corsi. But they're only being really used on their own grid right now. It hasn't really taken off, although it could, in theory, be a hypergrid currency. It hasn't become one. So when Chris came out with his Globit currency this year, that for me was very exciting because Globit has some real chops behind it. As you mentioned in your introduction, Chris used to run the Lindex exchange. He was the guy of the Second Life marketplace. He knows in-world payments. He knows in-world currencies. And it's already in use on a couple of different grids, and he'll talk more about that. But that's one of the reasons why I'm so excited about it, because it provides the opportunity for in-world shopping. And of course, Kitely, although it's linked to the Kitely Kitely grid, it's actually delivers to any other grid in OpenSim, including closed grids that are not on the hypergrid. And he's going to bring up some latest stats, but the growth has been really fantastic. Lots of products in the market. Majority of them are exportable, so you can deliver them to other grids. And they take payments both in their own grid currency and in PayPal with real money. And so that's been really, really doing well. And I refer people to the Kitely market for content whenever anybody asks about where to get stuff. And so that's kind of the overview of what's happening in OpenSim right now. So do you have any questions for me, or do you want us to go on to the next presenter?
Let's talk to Chris and see what's going on with him.
Hello. Thank you guys for having me here. I appreciate everyone in attendance today, and Elon for joining us as well. I'm looking forward to hearing more. I hear about Kitely quite often as the most successful kind of gorilla in the space, in more of a marketplace space. So as Maria was kind enough to mention, before I jumped into working on commerce for Opensim, I had run Linden Labs' Second Life marketplace, their Lindex, and really oversaw the entire economy there. So I had a lot of experience, and I saw the beauty of what it brought. And sadly, that Linden at the time did not want to make that a service. And believe me, that was some stuff that, while I was at Second Life, we discussed creating a service to open up to partners like Opensim and other products that could use a digital currency. So I left Linden with a bit of a vision and dream of doing that. It took me some time to build a product and to build something that would work. At Linden, for instance, our product was not built with the security to really be a service wrapped around it. So had some friends come on, also people who had worked at Linden and had seen these problems, and we built a distributed transaction system, and eventually ended up back at Opensim, back close to roots, and sat down with Maria, I want to say about a year ago now, maybe a little bit more, to discuss what the opportunity was here, who we should talk to at Opensim, were there problems that needed to be solved. And we've spent the last year trying to solve those problems. Our vision is that someone can jump around from grid to grid, and in one click be connected to a spending account that is consistent across those, so that a user just needs to bring one balance, and for merchants selling, they're getting access to way more consumers, and that someone can purchase in a secure way, not have to worry about their funds being stolen if they go somewhere accidentally that is not reputable. Have a simple to manage transaction history, and be able to attach all of their avatars to a single account, and be able to do that. And we're working hard to provide that. I think we've provided a lot of that on the consumer side, and we're now focused on some of the merchant tools for merchants to be able to sell Globits and cash out. And we have a handful of grids waiting to go live once we have that ready. They're waiting to make sure their merchants can cash out, and so we're looking forward to the growth that we'll see with those products. But right now, for anyone who hasn't tried Globit, if you create an account with Globit, which is, think of it like a PayPal for VR or for Opensim at the moment, and if you go into a space that is running a Globit module, it's a region module that someone can install at the SIM level on a grid or across a grid, can enable per region, that you would get a message that would tell you how to link your account, and you would go to the Globit website, you would authorize Globit on that grid if you trusted that grid, and that provider that you're on. And then you would go back in world and you would see your balance in the screen. We've done a deep integration. And you can use the standard mechanisms in world to buy something. The only times you need to leave your experience are to authorize a grid, which is essentially one click to authorize an area, an app on our system essentially, and when you need to purchase more Globits. And then we do all the moving of funds behind the scene to merchant accounts. We keep our fees as low as we can, and we're small right now. We're looking for all the help we can get to grow. People who are interested, whether that be people that run a large grid or you run a region or two on, say, OS Grid. One of our partners that came up has a store has 4 regions on OS Grid and a store. And so we even work in that environment. And anyway, we are looking forward to expanding and really supporting this space. And we have a vision of supporting beyond Opensim as well. We want to connect Opensim to the emerging VR market coming out. We think that's great for the people using here, and for there are going to be a bunch of people jumping into VR that are in spaces that don't have, frankly, a lot of commerce. That are looking for other things. I think it can be an influx of people in. So we're focused on Opensim at the moment, but there's no reason our product can't be used on a web marketplace that supports the space, or or at some point down the road in other systems as well. And the goal is that you just have one account with one balance as a consumer. I will wait for some questions from Maria rather than to dive into more details. Hopefully that interests folks, and I'm also always available. Our website is globit.com, GLOEBIT, and my email is chris@globit.com. I think anyone working with us can tell you that I don't always do it right away. It sometimes takes me a few days. We're a small team, but I do a lot to help people integrating, to have a successful experience, and to answer questions, and to let you know if we're the right solution for you and for what you're doing. And we want to grow that. We want to make it so that it's simple to shop. It's simple to do a music show and get tips. It's simple to have someone come in and donate and spend a small amount of money. And I really believe currency is the lubricant of the engine of commerce, and everything. If we can make that flow smoothly between all of our disparate spaces, that works. And I mentioned before, we see ourselves as the PayPal of VR. If you think about eBay, for anyone who saw that, there were risks. There was, who do you trust? Do you give someone your credit card? And when PayPal came about, it changed that space for how easy it was to purchase across things. And that's what we hope we're doing here. And we are going to try to improve experiences. So I'll hand that back to Maria or whomever is speaking next, perhaps Mike. Thank you guys very much.
Thank you, Chris. Can we talk to Elon now and see what's going on with the Kitely market?
Yes, thank you, Mike. My name is Elon Pashner. I think Kitely does quite a lot of things. One of them is Kitely Market. We started Kitely Market we started discussing it in 2013. We used a lot of we talked to a lot of people who ran marketplace in Second Life, to a lot of merchants and so forth. And we set out to start a marketplace that will be the metaverse marketplace, something that will serve, deliver items directly to avatars on whatever open virtual world, virtual reality, augmented reality systems are currently using. And we, of course, started with supporting Opensim. And in end of August 2013, we launched. We launched with about 1,000 items in our marketplace. And we're up to more than 16,000 currently. It's been a very interesting road for Kitely market, I think. We started off with a lot of resistance from various grid owners who were somewhat reluctant to allow someone external to run a marketplace that will serve what they consider as their user base. And we're now at a point where we're being actively approached by people who run closed grids in order to enable their users to get market deliveries from Kitely Market. We've been developing quite many features over the years. If you compare Kitely Market, you'd see that it's probably closer in look and feel to the Amazon marketplace than it is to Second Life marketplace. That is mostly by design. We want to be kind of the Amazon of the metaverse, and not specifically trying to imitate what other virtual world marketplaces have done over the years. Just a small update. This year we rolled out new features allowing revenue splitting between merchants, which has been a very frequently requested feature. And it has enabled people to work together in building and marketing their items. As most people here know, a lot of the content creators don't create everything from scratch. They use bits and pieces and collaborate with other content creators in order to create their entire product. And this feature has enabled people to actually split revenue in a way that is conductive to what they want to get done, including being able to give percentages to various donations, charitable donations that they want. So it's been interesting. One of the goals, and I think we share that with everyone that talks or has any venture in aiming for the metaverse, is really to extend beyond just supporting Opensim. We've talked about supporting high fidelity long ago, and even since we started, and that's something that will definitely be adding in the not too distant future. I'm thinking those are additional questions that will probably be asked, so I'll free the mic. Back to you.
Thank you, Elon. Now that we've gotten through those presentations, we can accept. Please send me any questions in open or private chat. And starting off, Chris, a question for Chris. How does Globit compare to Pode X, which is currently the leading provider of in-world currency services for individual grids? And is your technology using a blockchain or some other technology?
Sure. We are not using blockchain. We're using our own technology. So I can do hours on just discussing what Bitcoin and blockchain and cryptocurrencies are and are not. But in summary, there, there's a lot of computing power. While people don't realize it's rather expensive to run a blockchain and to compute transactions, things don't transact right away. We wanted a system that was virtually instantaneous for the funds to move and was as inexpensive as possible to do microtransactions, and frankly is completely private. People tend to want their finances private, not public, as much as things are anonymized in blockchain. So I think blockchain tech is amazing for certain things. For me, it's never been the right solution for currency. So we are built on top of AWS. We could really use any cloud service, but that is what our production is running on. We run our own ledger and account systems that we maintain. So when someone transfers funds, that is a transaction we are building and submitting to our own transaction processor. That is a distributed transaction system that is designed to handle parties that might have accounts on different servers in different databases. And that is done as a multi-phase transaction where we effectively put a hold. We transfer the funds in a state where they can be revoked and any other components. So for Opensim, when we do that phase, that is when at the end of that, when products are delivered in world, we send a signal back to the grid and we say, deliver this product. And when the Opensim's I buy sell module, I think is what it is for anyone who's on the dev side, delivers the product, it comes back with a success or a failure. If that fails, we reverse all of the funds. If that succeeds, we consume all of those funds and we say, great, these are freed up. And so we try to build as safe a transaction as possible. How are we different from Pode X? It's been a while since I have dug into to all of the competitors. I recall that a handful of them were a single avatar per account on their system. One big thing is that you can link as many avatars in a grid or across multiple grids to a single Globit account as you want. You can view that balance and spend from all of those at the same time. Don't worry, the funds won't be double spent. Those transactions are processed sequentially through a queue, but you'll have access if you had multiple viewers running. Costs, we are trying to keep costs as low as possible for purchasing and selling for margin we take, and we're taking a small percentage on transactions, and that's where we want funds to come in, and we're also sharing a piece of that with whoever the integrator is, whoever the app owner is, which might be the sim owner or the grid owner on the Opensim side, because we believe that's where people should make their money and they should have a piece. If they provide you a great area to sell or to buy, we'd love to tie their incentives to keeping commerce up there and helping them make money and continue to be able to provide a great experience. And on our end, that's where our costs are. So our goal is to keep it inexpensive cost that allows microtransactions and really has no startup cost. So I would have to dig into the latest that Pode X has provided to give you guys more details on how we're different. If you've got a couple specific features you want to ask about, let me know. Or Mike, if you want to give me a quick rundown of where things look similar. Apologies, I've been deep in code as much as I'm running the business side. For instance, yesterday I realized our Facebook logins didn't work because Facebook updated, one of their interface, and it was something simple, but there's 3 hours of my day.
I can jump in here for a second, Mike, if that's okay with you.
Sure.
Yes, so I should have mentioned Pode X in my little overview. They're not exactly a hypergrid currency or hypergrid system. What they are is, and they claim to provide this for 27 grids right now, is that they provide in-grid currencies. So for many grids, when you buy a local currency, the Pode X is actually doing the back end of it. And if you want to buy something with one grid, you have to have the currency for that grid. Pode X does have an exchange where you can exchange one currency for another, but I think as some people have mentioned in the comments, the exchange rate can be very expensive for people to use. So it's a very different kind of business model. It's a different kind of way of using virtual currency. Instead of having a single currency that works on multiple grids, you have a separate currency for each grid. You have a separate wallet. You have separate spending. And for me, from a hypergrid perspective, it's less easy to use, but it does give the grid kind of ownership of its own currency. So a very, very different approach to in-world commerce.
Yeah. So if I could point out for a user, what does that mean? You're with Pode X, you're in a space, and let's even say you're already connected. You decide you want to go to X other hypergrid world. You're likely, after you teleport, you're likely going to their website. You're selling the currency that you had in world A. You're paying a fee. You're buying the currency that you have in world B. You're paying a fee. You're likely, if I'm guessing, if it's like some of the other systems I've seen, finding an in-world ATM where you now go to link your avatar to the account if you hadn't already done that for the new currency, and you're telling it to transfer X amount of funds to that avatar, and now you can spend. It's a lot of steps. It's complex. It requires ATMs to be resed in world that are running scripts. It may or may not be a single avatar. Globit. You transfer from, teleport from world A to world B. And if you already authorized that grid, your currency is there. There's no buying and selling. It's a single currency that we're doing across spaces. If it's not, it's, one click to bring you to a website where you get a simple dialogue with Globit that says, is this you? Do you want to authorize this grid to have access to your balance and to process charges? You click yes. And you're done. You're ready to spend in that new space. Setting up an account. I don't recall specifically with Pode X. I walked through the whole OMC flow, and I think I had something like 12 steps to link an account and get funds into my system in OMC. And it was a long process. I documented it at some point. Now, this was a year ago, so I don't know if it has changed since then. But between going to the website and having to buy and transfer funds and finding an ATM and having to authorize at the ATM in the system, and then only being able to tie those funds to a single avatar. So if you've got a second avatar, too bad, buy some more funds. We don't want things to work like that. So I appreciate Maria's description there. She knows more about this than probably most other people in the systems, and has been an awesome advisor and help for us, both with connecting us with service providers and grid owners and getting the word out, but also the lay of the land early on, and what are the problems as she saw it. So she and some of the early service providers we worked with, Dreamworld Metaverse, ZetaMex, and there is one more, DigiWorlds. DigiWorlds early on really helped us think through that, and then a lot of other early partners. So, by the way, I'll say we've been testing with folks all through this process, and we have got a whole host of grids who have run us even in sandbox and regions to test, and we're thankful for all of them. They have helped us find bugs and given us feedback. Some of those are features we've worked in. Some are things that we have on a list now. So one, for instance, was I built a pretty ugly flow to authorize auto debit subscription objects, and those payments that are automated, because those need to have a little extra security around them. And someone said, "Hey, why can't I authorize this when it asks me for auto debit permissions when I res it? Why is it waiting until the first payment?" And we went back in and we reworked that flow, and I think it's a lot better, and only there because of those partners we've had on. But that's our goal, is to keep working like that feedback loop with the community here.
Chris, another common alternative for in-world payments is PayPal. How does Globit compare to using PayPal in-world?
So, the issues I ran into when I talked to people about PayPal and where they were happy and where they weren't, was one, it required the account to have an email address on it. Most of them do, but that isn't required with us as far as someone paying. Two, that you're dealing with a standard credit card fee, so 30 cents plus 3.5%. So with PayPal, I believe the people using it were only using it for high dollar transactions, maybe renting areas. I don't think they were doing a lot of commerce on the space in small amounts. Another large thing was chargebacks. PayPal has very poor terms for digital goods. Their assumption is, well, you haven't lost anything, so we don't care about you. We're going to favor the buyer. And so, to my knowledge, you cannot if a buyer disputes anything that is marked a digital goods transaction, PayPal just says, "Great, we're just refunding this," and that's it. And a lot of folks are even hesitant to even dispute with PayPal because they have a reputation for just shutting off merchants, when they feel like it. So we don't have, all of our processes figured out. But one thing is, digital goods are our space. So it's not second fiddle. That doesn't mean that refunds aren't going to be granted to folks at times. But we also know that it's people's livelihood selling things. And someone needs a legitimate reason to demand, to say that they didn't get a product. And if we have a callback from a server and, that says a product was delivered, well, is that server broken? If not, did you not get what you were supposed to? So, we're going to be working on systems that, don't necessarily favor the merchant more than the consumer, but are even. The complaints we got from merchants were that they just seemed to feel like, PayPal was, because nothing else provided for them, and they weren't happy, and they're looking for things. You're also always jumping out of the experience to pay. So I've been in game development. I've talked with many gamers. I think Opensim and VR is the same thing. It's an immersive environment. And every payment is jump out to the web and push a payment to someone. We have built an authorization system that allows for what they call pull transactions and payments. And that's more like a credit card transaction. So you can buy something with Globit where you're not forced to leave. If you have the funds in your account, you can click and you can purchase and you get messaging in world and you're all set. Whereas with Opensim, to buy that same object, you would have to jump to the web, to your PayPal website. If you're not logged in, log in and then push that payment through and then go back in world. A few of the things.
Thanks, Chris. Now, for PayPal, Kitely Market uses that as one of its payment options. Elon, how do you guys deal with the PayPal issues for your buyers and merchants?
Yes. Hi. Thank you, Marianne. First off, Kitely, I agree that a lot of people want to be able to buy and sell anonymously while actually transacting at the end of the day in real money. One of the things that Kitely Market does is that every transaction, PayPal transaction, that goes through our system, buyer only knows Kitely Market's PayPal information, seller only knows Kitely Market's PayPal information. So we actually act as a kind of a middle person between the buyer and seller, ensuring that you can transact with your avatar identity while actually transferring real money between the parties. Now, there are, as you mentioned, PayPal has a 45-day dispute window, and there are various issues that can happen with people forgetting that they ordered something, or their spouse seeing some sort of payment 30 days later and declining it, and that can cause money to actually be taken back from people's PayPal accounts. And so we actually shield them from all of this interaction with PayPal. They know the interaction with Kitely. If there are issues, we can basically bridge the gap between the buyer and the seller in order to ensure that if someone got paid for something that wasn't delivered, well, that never actually happens. So there's a 45-day delay between payouts and Kitely for real money. But if there are issues that a person did not get paid or would not have gotten paid because of a PayPal dispute, we actually take proactive actions to freeze the content from leaving Kitely until such time that the transaction is either cleared or the issue is resolved in another way. If the transaction is cleared, we actually unsuspend. This is all done automatically by our system. So money comes back into the balance. Items automatically unfreeze. And all of this with most times without either the seller being involved in the process Often we do have to contact the buyer if there are issues with disputes, but that rarely happens in Kitely Market. No one wants to lose their ability to transact in Kitely Market, neither buyers nor sellers. What Kitely Market does, and which is different from how transactions usually happen in OpenSim, is that Kitely Market is an online website. You order from it, and items get delivered directly to your avatar on whatever grid they're on. So you buy, you specify your grid, you specify the avatar name, and the items appear, get sent to that avatar's inventory. And so there's no going in and out for transactions. You just do it all from the website, which is pretty much how you would transact in Amazon or any other real-life e-commerce site. And I think that statistics have shown that people, even Second Life Marketplace, they like the shopping experience in World, but they do a lot of their actual shopping in the marketplace. It's more conductive to finding a lot of things quickly, sorting, comparing, and so forth. And we've seen that a lot of them grids that also have local e-commerce shops where particular merchants, those merchants come and open a presence, the Kitely Market store, and often send their customers from the various grids to buy in Kitely Market, specifically because of all the tools that we provide the merchants and the transaction, making the entire process a lot more seamless within in-world shopping, handling currencies, converting payouts in, payouts out, and so forth. Even items listed in Kitely credits in Kitely Market can be bought directly with PayPal. The appropriate number of Kitely credits is automatically added to the person's shopping cart. So the process is pretty smooth. And we do try to shield merchants and customers from a lot of the potential issues that exist with online transactions, and there are quite a lot of them, especially in nascent ecosystems such as Opensim and High Fidelity. Once we start rolling out there, those systems still have a lot of technical issues. Items that need to be redelivered, people running things in their own home, having firewall issues, people have not having used various viewers or outdated versions of Opensim that can have compatibility issues. All those kinds of things we handle on a daily basis and really save the merchants from having to deal with all those issues themselves. Some of them are quite technical. And so our goal is really to allow merchants to just focus on building the best product they can and marketing them easily, and for buyers to just be able to go and find what they're looking for and know that they'll be able to get it into their grid, assuming it's hypergrid enabled or has used our instructions in order to allow them to get deliveries from Kitely Market despite them being in a closed grid.
Thank you, Elon. Sorry. Let's see, Maria, can you give us more of an overview on what you're seeing in for commerce in other markets across OpenSim? If anything is approaching Kitely's level of service, and what other interesting things you're seeing there.
Okay, I get a lot of emails from people who want to start competing marketplaces to Kitely. And they have been several attempts to do something similar. None of them have gotten any traction because they have the usual chicken and egg problem. Customers show up, there's nothing there, and they leave. Merchants show up, there's no customers, so they don't bother to put up their products and they leave. And so far, nobody has been able to break through it. Kitely has done a really good job when they first launched, working with the merchants, getting a core amount of content in place and ready to go. The one opportunity that a competing marketplace does have right now is that of free items. So, for example, if you want to get Linda Kelly content and you wanted to get it online, delivered straight to your avatar, you can't get that. You have to hunt around for it in grids, or you have to upload it yourself. And this is an opportunity. And I've heard a lot of people asking me why there aren't freebies on Kitely, or at least freebie demos on Kitely. Elon, do you guys have any plans to add either freebies or demos to the marketplace?
Kitely hasn't built-in demo feature where you can actually get demos for various things. The demo is there's a try demo link in places where the merchant has offered has a demo built as part of the product listing. One thing worth noting possibly is Kitely Market aggregates similar products together, so you have a product listing with the various colors, for example, where you can select the color that you want and so forth, instead of having things separate. And part of that is also having demos, which are a separate entity, so you can have the demo version of the yellow shirt, for example. One of the things that we have not offered and are not likely to in the near future are complete freebies that are not part of a demo for an item that is sold for money. People who there's a big difference between enabling people to download content from a website and delivering it directly to their avatar. The delivery process, just a function of the amount of people who use that feature, causes a certain amount of customer support that we need to provide. And that is time required, and that requires time and costs us money. That's time we're not spending on doing other things that generate revenue for us. As this is a business that feeds our families. And so offering freebies is something that will consume our time, reduce our ability to push forward things that contribute to our business and Kitely's continued growth, which basically serves the interest of customers and merchants alike, while not really offering something that they can't get in other places. There are various other websites where people can find free content, which they can import via their viewer and so forth. But the service that we provide of directly delivering to grids with all the customer supports that surrounded that, that is something that we can't afford to provide for free, not for free items.
Okay, Elon, thank you. We have a few minutes left here, and I'd like to get a little input from both Chris and Elon on how, if they have any plans for expanding beyond Opensim into social VR platforms that are in development right now. I want to take a few minutes from Chris and then from Elon.
Hi, we do. As I said, we want to be a currency that connects people wherever they want to spend. And I certainly saw that at Second Life. The fact that it was such a large ecosystem meant people could make their living there, meant that costs could be down. So I think there's a lot of benefits. I think it would be great if a merchant from Opensim at some point in the future could go pay their AWS tier with Globits because suddenly that's a partner, or buy the computer they need, or whatever. And so we'd love to get to something like that. As far as the immediate future, We, whenever we can, sit down with emerging VR platforms that we have contacts with. I don't think everyone knows what they want to do yet. Commerce is pretty early in that space. Obviously, I know most of the people at High Fidelity. We talk to them regularly. Spoke with the VR chat guys recently. We have someone that we can't mention their name at the moment, but is in that emerging VR space that I don't know if you call them social VR, but headset style VR building that is funded, that has said they would like to do a full integration with Globit and use us. So we'll see. None of that is final, but we've got a major funded partner that thinks this is the right solution there, and that's a great inroad into that space. So we're looking at it. And we're being cautious. The people that we are considering in that space need have a few requirements. They need to obviously be doing commerce. They need to be enabling user-to-user commerce. Globit adds a lot more value when it's user-to-user, not just user to owner of space. And they need to be doing a permission system that makes sense. You're not going to have a lot of great commerce and merchants that are supported to build things. They need user-generated content tools or a way to import things, and they need a security system where someone buying can't just copy and reproduce things. So we are targeting people to speak with in that space that have those, and that is kind of something we run on the back burner as we develop for Opensim. And hopefully as we line up those people that have the same needs, that means that they're helping to pay for some of the feature development we do in Opensim as well.
Great, thank you, Chris. Elon, what are you folks up to there?
We've been working on getting high fidelity support for Kitely. We hope to be able to roll out initial support for virtual world hosting in the next few months, and we want to be able to directly deliver to high fidelity avatars, as well as the remainder of the year, probably to go for the end of 2017. So one of the things that to remember, that Kitely's goal really is to kind of provide a full stack of services that will enable people, entrepreneurs, to quickly and affordably build VR and AR offerings on top of open source architectures. Opensim was the initial step. High Fidelity will be the next one. But we're really focusing on open and open source platforms, which I think are the other future, considering how the internet evolved. We see proprietary systems being of less interest long term.
Okay, thank you, Elon. Thank you, Christopher, Maria, and Elon, for a terrific presentation. I think it was really informative to everybody. As a reminder to our audience, you can see what's coming up on the conference schedule at conference.opensimulator.org. Following this session at 10:30 will be Do You Have What It Takes to Survive? We encourage you to visit OSCC16 Poster Expo in the OSCC Expo 3 region to find accompanying info on presentations and explore the Hypergrid Tour resources in OSCC Expo 2 region, along with sponsor and crowdfunder booths located throughout all the OSCC Expo regions. Thank you again to our speakers and the audience for a great session.